Right. What's up, guys? I've shot this video like, I don't know, too many times. I'd say at least a half dozen. So here's the deal. Um, this may come off as whining, and quite frankly, I don't really care. Um, Recently, my ex-wife and I had a disagreement about one or two of our conversations in which we were trying to figure out the logistics of when my son was going to be dropped off after his visitation with me. And we discussed it, but we never agreed on anything. And I maintained, hey, look, this is something we talked about, but we never firmed up. And I'm sure this happens all the time. And there were some other discussions that went on about, the volunteer work for his baseball league, which I'd already put in 3 hours worth of volunteer work, and the next round of volunteer work came out, and I said, hey, look, I've already put in 3 hours, and it's your turn. And she didn't take that very well. So she immediately started avoiding that topic and then started saying, well, this transition that we talked about was agreed upon, and you didn't follow through with it, and that screwed up my plans. Even though I was not supposed to take him back to her until the normally scheduled time. And the only reason that I had suggested that was so that I wouldn't have to drive a third time back to the city. It's about 20 miles where he lives with her. See, when he comes to my house on the weekends, I have to drive to get him on Friday night. On Saturday, he has baseball practice, so we have to drive back to the city where he has baseball and back to my house, 40 miles round trip. And then on Sunday, he has baseball practice again, 40 miles round trip. And I had suggested after baseball on Sunday, I would just drop him off, and that would be it for the weekend. That's the visit. But we never agreed that that's what we would do. So I just brought him home. All right, I'll make a fourth trip to drop him off this weekend. 4 trips. My visit weekend is 4 trips. 4 trips back and forth to where he lives. Well, people would say, well, that's your fault for picking where you live. No. It's meet in the middle. It's meet in the middle, according to Rhode Island law. You're supposed to meet in the middle. Plus, it's just flat out lazy by one of the parties, and I'm not going to assign that label. You guys can do that for yourselves. So anyway, she got upset because the transition didn't go how she felt it was agreed upon. I said we discussed it 2 times. We never agreed on anything. And long story short, she got upset, and what she turned that into was she started barking orders about when and how I was going to see him, which basically limits and curtails the amount of time I get to spend with him. She is sometimes extra generous. I'll say extra generous, meaning after a baseball game or after a basketball game, he and I can go to have ice cream, or if there's a football game on, like playoffs or something that's special, he wants to see with me, he will come with me to see it. And that's something she does that's extra. Like, I should be given a bonus to see my son. Like, I have to earn that or something. And that frustrates me quite a bit. That makes me extremely upset that she thinks of it in those terms. Like, I have to be given the right to see my son. We have joint custody. That means we split his life decisions 50-50. He has placement, though. And that means, or she has placement. That means she has the day-to-day care for him except for when he has visits that are assigned by the court or with me, which is every other weekend and once a week for dinner. So anything above and beyond that, she and I have to agree on. So you might say, well, you're complaining, she's giving you extra, blah, 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 blah. But I'm also an engaged father. I go to every baseball game, I go to every basketball game, I go to all the stuff that I can do just to see him, just to get one extra hug I can get, which means 4 or 5 times a week I'm driving back to see him. And now she's playing games with, you know, my time that I can see him, and pretending, or not pretending, she's inferring and making suggestion that I'm jeopardizing my time with him by not agreeing with her, which is horseshit. So that's really frustrating to me, that as a father who's engaged, pays his child support, pays for before school care, so it will accommodate her job. I don't need before school care paid for. I work from home. I can have him in my home 24/7, 365, and I could be here for him without having to pay that extra expense. But because she selected a job where she needs to have that paid for, I have to pay child support and I have to pay for a service that accommodates her job. I'm not sure how that's, you know, fair in Rhode Island, but that's just the way it is in a commie state. The dads are the guilty party. The dads are the big bad, you know, devil guys. So anyway, that's my story. It's frustrating, and it's extremely disheartening to be a guy who's trying to do the right thing, and to be manipulated and belittled, and to have your son used as a pawn against you. And I can only imagine what's going through his mind, because it's disgusting. And I don't have a whole lot of ill will towards my ex-wife. I'm kind of indifferent. You know, I'm sure she can't wait to get me out of her life too. We're probably both of that thinking. But at the same time, I would never use my son against her. I keep saying him, Jesus. And you know, I guess that says it all. What else do you need to know? And this is the state of fatherhood in 2019. You know, it was never good enough in the 80s and 90s for dads to just pay child support. You know, we heard about deadbeat dads. And then we heard about, well, you're not engaged with his life enough. So then dads started to engage, paid child support and engaged in their life, you know. And now we're paying child support and engaged, and it's not enough for us to just be the guys who are the good guys and trying to do the right thing. You know, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. And it feels a whole lot like you're not treated like a person as a father in today's society. And I don't think that's much different than it was 20 years ago or 30 or 40 years ago. And I'm not saying anything that's new. And that's just too bad. All right, guys, I'm going to sign out of this one. I got some other stuff I think I'm going to upload. I'm going to respond to Red October's Not the USA video, too. So, sorry this is almost 10 minutes long. If you've listened this long, thanks for stopping by. I hope you'll subscribe. And thanks for tagging along with me on this sob story. We'll talk to you soon.